I'm Nell.
Well, hello.
Welcome to our GKG weekend. I hope you find your accommodations comfortable.
What are they teaching you here?
Well, they teach you about connecting and kissing and being passionate. Welcome to Girls Kissing Girls.
It's hard not to watch, isn't it? It's beautiful. Yes, it is.
My job is to kiss all these hot girls and you don't expect me to be human, but it's okay for you.
No, not with the clients.
Scene 3 revisits the same institutional introduction as Scene 2, but shifts its emotional gravity by pairing Dana and August, and in doing so, the film subtly demonstrates how identical structures can produce radically different emotional outcomes depending on who is moving through them, which is a truth queer women know intimately from navigating systems that claim neutrality while reacting very differently to different expressions of womanhood, vulnerability, and need. The reiterated mission statement about empowerment through kissing, delivered with procedural calm, again sets up a paradox that defines the entire movie. Intimacy is welcomed in theory but regulated in practice, encouraged as healing yet constrained by rules that echo carceral logic. And for Dana and August, this tension becomes less about novelty and more about endurance. Where earlier scenes carry the electricity of first encounters, or unresolved friction, this pairing feels weighted with time, history, and fatigue, suggesting a relationship shaped not only by love, but by survival under pressure. Dana's presence reads as guarded, someone who has learned how to function within systems without expecting them to nurture her, while August carries a quieter ache, an openness that feels both brave and risky in a space where emotional transparency can be misinterpreted or punished. The repeated warning about professionalism lands differently here. It does not feel like a boundary protecting safety so much as a reminder that even consensual, mutual desire between women must be carefully justified to be allowed. A lesson many lesbians internalize early when they learn that affection is acceptable only if it can be explained away as therapeutic, educational, or harmless. As Rose is again introduced to Cole downstairs, the familiarity of the interaction underscores how routine can dull longing without erasing it. And for Dana and August watching from the margins, this routine mirrors the way long-term queer relationships can feel invisible, overshadowed by narratives that privilege beginnings over continuance. When Dana and August enter the consultation space, their dialogue reveals not explosive conflict but a low-grade erosion of closeness, the kind that comes from competing demands, exhaustion, and the constant negotiation of roles, which is especially resonant in the context of a prison story where emotional labor is unevenly distributed and often unacknowledged. August's longing for simple affection is not framed as neediness but as a human response to deprivation, and Dana's difficulty in meeting that longing speaks less to lack of care than to a learned self-protection, the instinct to compartmentalize feelings in environments where vulnerability can be weaponized. This dynamic reflects a broader queer experience. Many lesbians grow adept at emotional restraint not because they feel less deeply, but because history has taught them that openness invites scrutiny, disbelief, or dismissal. The interruption by Pia again functions as a catalyst, but here her presence feels less like a threat and more like a mirror, reflecting back the parts of Dana and August's relationship that have gone unspoken. The tension that flares is quiet but palpable, illustrating how jealousy and curiosity can coexist, especially in closed communities like prisons where alternative connections are limited and every interaction carries amplified meaning. The film's refusal to dramatize this moment into spectacle is crucial. Instead, it lingers in discomfort, allowing viewers to recognize the familiar sting of comparison and the fear of being replaced, not because love has ended, but because circumstances have shifted. When the facilitator asks what brings them there, August's answer about wanting to reclaim affection like we used to becomes an elegy for a past self, for a version of the relationship less burdened by external pressures. And Dana's hesitation to respond exposes the asymmetry of their emotional states without assigning blame. This imbalance resonates strongly for queer women who often find themselves in relationships where one partner is further along in self-acceptance or has more emotional bandwidth, a disparity intensified in environments shaped by surveillance and control. The line about kissing being scary lands with particular force here, reframed not as the fear of first contact but as the fear of reopening something fragile, of risking disappointment or loss in a world that already withholds so much. In a prison context, fear around intimacy is not abstract. It is grounded in real consequences, from institutional discipline to social repercussions. And the film uses this setting to illuminate why prisons receive such criticism in queer narratives, not because they inherently create same-sex relationships, but because they expose how systems of confinement magnify the human need for connection, while simultaneously punishing it. Society's discomfort with seeing women express love for each other is heightened in prison stories because they challenge two taboos at once: the myth that incarceration erases desire, and the persistent belief that women's relationships are secondary, situational, or illegitimate. Dana and August's interactions quietly dismantle these myths by presenting their bond as emotionally rich, ethically complex, and deeply human, refusing the notion that queer love in prison is either exploitative or temporary. Instead, the film suggests that what looks transgressive to outsiders is often simply adaptive, a way of reclaiming agency and tenderness in spaces designed to strip both away. Each woman in this scene embodies a different response to systemic pressure. Dana represents endurance, the ability to keep going by narrowing emotional exposure. August represents longing, the refusal to let connection wither even when it hurts. Pi represents possibility and disruption, the reminder that desire does not disappear simply because it is inconvenient. And the institutional voice represents society at large, insisting on order while misunderstanding what truly sustains people. For lesbian viewers, these roles feel achingly familiar, mirroring real-world pressures to hide relationships at work, to downplay affection in public, to justify love as friendship or phase, and to carry the emotional cost of these compromises quietly. Women more broadly can relate to the exhaustion of being asked to manage everyone's comfort but their own, to the way emotional labor becomes invisible labor, especially in relationships that lack cultural validation. The film's insistence on portraying intimacy as conversation, hesitation, apology, and small affirmations rather than spectacle is itself a political act, challenging the idea that women's love must be either sanitized into platonic safety or exaggerated into scandal to be seen at all. By grounding Scene 3 in the specificities of Dana and August's dynamic, the movie expands its queer social commentary, arguing that authenticity is not a singular moment of revelation, but a sustained practice of choosing honesty within constraint. Prison, in this framework, becomes less a sensational backdrop and more a concentrated metaphor for the broader world queer women inhabit, one that monitors, limits, and often misunderstands their connections while depending on their resilience to function. The tenderness that emerges despite these constraints is not naive, it is hard-won, shaped by awareness of risk and loss, and therefore deeply meaningful. In centering women's experiences without spectacle, the film invites LGBTQ+ viewers to see themselves not as exceptions or symbols, but as people whose emotional lives matter, whose longing is legitimate, and whose visibility is an act of quiet resistance, suggesting that even in the most restrictive environments, the truth of women loving women persists not as fantasy or taboo, but as a testament to the enduring human need to be seen, held, and understood.